Hey everyone, another day, more things happening. Every time I wake up, I'm like, how did they fuck with Sargon of Akkad today? That's the question that I have, because at this point I'm curious. It's like, seeing how they're trying to outdo each other, and apparently Reddit quarantined his subforum. It's like, are you sure you want to view this community? It is quarantined. It is dedicated to shocking or highly offensive content. Are you certain you want to continue? Well, Reddit, are you certain that you want to continue interfering in the European Union elections within the United Kingdom? This seems to me a little bit like election meddling. Just a little bit. What a shameful display. Probably they're trying to make sure that Sargon cannot organize with his activists anymore. And here's the thing, like I keep mentioning this, Sargon is the guy I know, right? Like he is the person that I know, so I constantly look for this. But like how many other people that are running for the EU meet also these kinds of barriers, also these types of just articles after articles meeting them, just private corporations meddling within the elections. To be honest, like at least it's not as bad as we see it in Spain. Because in Spain, apparently, you have this party called Vox. Never heard about it, but it's have been banned from television from appearing. And you have UK journalists, all right? Like the people that are benefiting the most from free speech, from free expression, and from freedom of the press. How do you think these gentlemen are acting when they're looking like Spain? They're acting like horny dogs, like salivating, and like, bring that here. Yes, yes, Spain, bring it here. Let's import authoritarianism. Like the UK is so good with coming with its own authoritarian measures, but now it wants to import from other places. I'm pretty sure that Vox is far right. I've never heard about these gentlemen, but I guarantee that this is definitely not a smear. I'm pretty sure that the president of the Vox party can just reach out and touch Hitler from the other side of the horseshoe. I have no doubt that that is the case. And yet you're telling me that no party is able to actually win a debate against them. Like they are so convincing, they are so powerful that they need to be banned from television. Well, that says a lot about the other politicians. I think if you can't debate against a communist or you can't debate against a person from the far right, and you can't put some arguments forward in order to convince people, then you don't deserve to be a politician. Like you're going to be arguing with other foreign nationals, you're going to argue with other dignitaries from different ideologies from around the world. And if you can't do that in your country, how the fuck are you expected to do it with someone else's ambassador? Like, no, you're not cut out to be a politician if you can't debate against the powerful and almighty Nigel Farage. And you have to hide behind censorship. You hide, like, no, make sure Nigel Farage doesn't speak because his words speak truth and they taint the public. But, I know why they're worried, right? I know why they're livid about it. They're livid because Nigel Farage is demolishing them in the polls. And they're really afraid about it. These are not journalists anymore. They're just activists. Some of them are even members of political parties. And, like, if you have a journalist that's a member of Labour, do you honestly expect that he's going to give a positive editorial for someone that's from the Brexit party or from UKIP or from anyone else? Of course not. Like it's so blatantly obvious. In fact, I think that for journalistic ethics, they should just be forced to mention if they're members of a certain party. If you want to make an editorial, that's fine. You have free speech, but you should also mention that, yeah, I'm a member of the Tories. I'm a member of Labour. I'm a member of this. And then it's a lot more clear, like when they're talking. Because they try to talk like they're from the position of the people, like they are completely uninvolved in politics. They're just like the referee. The referee is not part of any teams in football. He just sits there and tries to make sure that everyone plays by the rules. And this is how the journalists try to portray them. It's like, no, I'm just the referee. I don't play the game. And they suddenly start kicking the ball when no one is looking, It's convincing for young people, basically. It's convincing for a lot of teenagers that happen to read these articles who don't know that the journalists are so much ingrained into activism and into politics right now. It's absolutely disgusting. But anyway, right? We got the Brexit, which is Nigel Farage's party, which got almost 30%. That is just insane, right? So he managed to overtake Labour. And the Conservatives, they're oh my God. Like, they used to have 24%, right? But what's interesting about it is that the Brexit party has almost the same that UKIP used to have, which shows that a lot of people are really enjoying Nigel Farage, so they're probably voting for the same party. Now, I do view this as a win. I view the fact that UKIP also has 7%. This is another 7% of the population that really wants to Brexit. They really want the opinion of a referendum and democracy to be maintained. I know a lot of people who didn't vote for Brexit. They wanted Remain. But because the way the European Union has treated the United Kingdom, because the way the politicians, the Tories and the Labours have done almost anything they could in order to avoid Brexit, they're like, fuck it. Like, if they treat something as important as Brexit this way, what makes me think that they will respect my vote in the future? What makes me think that when I will vote for something else, if they don't want it, I will get it? So clearly, a lot of people are now voting for the new Brexit party, I guess. I have two issues with the Brexit party, by the way. The first issue is that of optics cocking, as a lot of young fellows on the internet like to point it out. Nigel Farage, denounced Tommy Robinson because something Islam, something extremist. Nigel Farage worked with other extremist people in the past. But that's not the only issue. Nigel Farage also talked against Islam on a couple of occasions, and he spoke quite harshly about it. And now all of a sudden, we're playing the optics cocking game where that someone is having like right-wing views but is now trying to hide them in order to get votes. Which is kind of fine if you would leave it at that, But usually when people are doing this, when they're trying to, cater to the overtone window and not just say what they feel, it's going to end up as a slippery slope. See, I can use the slippery slope argument as well. It's usually like going to go down and they're going to find more things that should be unacceptable. This is what happened to the Tories, by the way. Like in Britain, the Tories, they're just progressives running under the speed limit. I love that expression. They're just the ones that are looking what Labour is setting out, like the road that Labour is setting out, and they're following. It was even my joke that I bet Theresa May votes Labour when she's in the voting booth alone. And that's how it goes, It starts out like that. It's like, oh, we can't talk about this because Labour will find it offensive. It's like, no, like that's unacceptable. But the thing is that, again, like it's how it started with the Conservatives. They generally started censoring themselves until they ended up becoming like Labour and adopting like just popular policies in order to get the vote. But it doesn't seem like it's a winning strategy. So yeah, the thing with the Brexit party is, number one, they're not for free speech. At least they don't have a platform for it. And the problem is that, yeah, sure, the European Union's got the Article 13 and trying to censor the internet and whatnot. But Britain is doing the same. Like after you manage to get out of the European Union, you're still going to need to make sure that the laws which are authoritarian in Britain need to also be repealed. Like, for example, they're right now, Theresa May was talking that, oh, no, we need to censor the internet because something extremism. We need a porn license and something. And, like all these things need to go away. It's not just making sure that you get out of the EU if you want freedom, if you're a person that stands for liberty. And another part, the second biggest issue that I have with the Brexit party is that, again, it's a one-issue party. They just want Brexit and that's it. And then it disbanded. It's like the previous type that Nigel Farage did with UKIP. He thought he got out of the European Union and then he left UKIP. And why did he leave it? It's because he thought it's a done deal. It was a one issue. And then you also have the same people in charge again. You're not going to get rid of them. So I do believe it's healthy for a nation to have strong right-wing and left-leaning parties. At this point, the Labours and the Conservative, the Conservatives are in name only right-wing. But if you actually get them to do a political compass test, I bet your ass they're going to show up left-leaning. No, you need a right-wing party. It's how Europe democracy functions. You have like the progressives coming on, making their reforms and trying to, think about new ways to progress socially. And then you have the Conservatives that are like, no, hold on, you went too far. And they pull back some of those reforms. And then there's the dialogue, which helps create and maintain order in society. And all people need to be represented, not just the good-hearted left people. You need the right-wingers to be represented as well. And it's not an end to democracy, like how the press wants you to think that, oh my God, the right-wing party managed to win an election. Oh, the horror. No, it's like the right-wing party gets people pissed off like the left-leaning party, which is why they lose the elections the next cycle. Usually a party manages to keep elections 1 or 2 cycles and then it flips over. But this is what you should learn in school. This is something that you should learn about history. The press constantly forgets that. They act like, oh my God, Donald Trump won, is the end of the United States. It's a new tactic that the progressives are having, the left-leaning individuals. They genuinely believe that. They believe that unless you have a left-leaning party that's at the helm, and it's the country is steered more to the left, then it's going to be the end of it. All the minorities, the LGBTs and Muslims and all of that are going to be marched on the streets by the jackboots of the right wingers. They have moved so far to the left that even a party like UKIP, which I wouldn't even consider right wing, is just a centrist party. It would be like maybe center right, if you will, but like most of their platform is based on free speech and liberties for citizens and whatnot. They consider them to be Nazis, if you read the press. They generally consider them to be like Jared Batten is like the new Adolf Hitler. So yeah, no, I'm looking at this and I'm not surprised. I generally expected this to be the case. Like Nigel Farage was the leading force in UKIP. So now that he started the new party, managed to take a lot of people from the Tories in his new party, and he took some MPs from UKIP. Yeah, it makes sense. I didn't expect him to do so well. I'll give you that. I thought Labour is going to be the number one. I didn't think that Brexit is going to be so strong in the polls. The Conservatives are doing a lot better than I expected as well. I expected them to be at the bottom of the barrel. I expected them to be just a little bit about UKIP. The Cock Party apparently managed to get 6% of the votes. And then, you got like the Greens and the Liberal Democrats. I mean, look how many leftist parties there are, right? Like, if you're not from Britain, it's probably more difficult to see it. If you're from the United Kingdom and you look at the parties and you read their manifestos and what they stand for, you probably don't notice. For you, maybe the Conservatives are right-wing. But if you're an American and you'd actually look at these parties and you just give a glance, you'll be like, holy shit, like, whoa. I get to choose between left-leaning, 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 a little bit to the center, a little bit to the center-right. Like that's your options. And I guess, like the voters need to show a signal that, yeah, you're more willing to move to the right if that's what you want, and then other parties will follow. It's basically what happened with the Tories, like people voted so often to the left that the Tories were like, well, maybe people do want the left. So they started, adopting and trying to change a little bit of their policies in order to appease to the leftist crowd. You should never do that as a party, ever, because it's like you're appeasing to someone else's crowd. You're never going to be like perfect like they are. And you're just going to alienate people, and they're going to go from your party into the Brexit party. That's my assessment of what has happened here. But take into account this is just before the main campaign, before the main beef, if you will. Like so far, you just seen a couple of articles and people kind of know how to vote, but the parties haven't really started their campaigns yet. We're going to see this month, more and more politicians going out and campaigning for themselves. So yeah, I do view that this is going to change a little bit. Maybe a couple of percentages here and there. We're definitely going to see shifts unless someone does a major political gaffe or, a major scandal breaks out. Like if a major scandal breaks out in Labour, for example, you're going to see these other parties just gain a lot of more percentages. If a major scandal breaks out with the Conservatives, you're going to see Brexit and UKIP grow, We'll see what happens, right? So far it's just like the before picture. We're going to see the after picture a lot later. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you like my channel, please support it by donating. I never know if I say you can give a super chat or go to subscribe star if it actually helps, but I say it nonetheless. Stay tuned to the channel because I'll be releasing another video later on today.